teachers, and 2, that amount is unsustainable. So question is, which way education sector in Kenya? This is KTN Prime. Thank you for joining us. Let's take a look at our top stories tonight.
It will no longer be possible to pay teachers who miss work and are not going to earn a salary.
No work, no pay. TSC says it won't release September pay for striking teachers.
Uganda tunanunua mahindi na shilingi 1,900. Sasa ukileta hapa na transport hakuna kitu utakuja pata.
Blessing in disguise, maize farmers unhappy with the influx from Uganda. Just where are the millions? Youth now baying for Waiguru's intervention. And don't pay for recruitment. KDF warns of bribery as nationwide drive starts. Many thanks for joining us on KTN Prime. Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Meresha Owete. I'm Linda Ogutu. Now, the public has paid more than 52 million Kenya shillings in bribes since 2009 to secure jobs within the Kenya Defence Forces. Well, this is according to a report by the Ministry of Defence, whose officials today announced the start of a month-long recruitment process. Officials have asked the public to be vigilant and report any form of corruption during the exercise.
It was all systems go as the Kenya Defence Forces recruitment exercise kicked off across the country Monday. 16 recruitment teams have been set up to oversee the process across the 47 counties.
Our sincere intention is to conduct a free, fair, and a voluntary recruitment exercise. The recruitment will cover the general service members, tradesmen and women, and constabulary as it was advertised in the print and electronic media.
But the exercise has over the years been marred with corruption amounting to 52 million shillings in value. But KDF says it is tightening its noose and fighting this menace. In fact, 54 service personnel and 108 civilians have been arrested for engaging in fraud.
A form of punishment involves dismissal from service, court-martials, and termination of commission in case of officers. The 108 civilians, all of them were handed over to civil police for prosecution.
The first day of the exercise was filled with different experiences across the various centers.
Today the turnout was average, I would say, the number not as expected, but we've managed to get a good group that we can be able to get the right candidates.
During when we allocate quotas, we could have taken a lady from this division last year, and you understand about the 132 that's gender rule. If you look at what we took last year and comparing with what we want today, so this division was just allocated for male candidates only.
Another recruitment drive targeting cadets and specialist officers is set for September 24th at the Kenya Military Academy in Nakuru. The month-long exercise will be conducted in 288 recruitment centers across the country. Sharon Momanyi, KTN News.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission commissioners were hard-pressed to defend their employment on full-term basis before members of a parliamentary watchdog that prefers part-time engagement. Appearing before the National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee, the commissioners had a difficult time justifying their being in office daily and drawing a monthly salary, as they failed to outline what they do from 8 a.m. when they report to work and 5 p.m. when they leave. Commissioners Albert Bwire, Mudhoni Wangai and Kule Godana could not expressly state what their full-time operations entail, though they maintained that their hands were always full fulfilling their constitutional mandate.
she should tell us when she leaves her house, comes to the office, this is what I do on daily basis.
And that is
so
why
we understand what the commission is doing. You as a commission, what do you do when you leave your house to go to the office? What do you do? What activities do you engage? We want to understand the activities you engage as a commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. That's what I'm trying to answer. For example, I said you go back to our mandate. By the way, we do not have a lot of liberties about what we can do because most of the things we do are by law. For example, we've been in this parliament, I think in the last 1 month, so many times, going to other committees. For example, the legal reform. And I'm in the committee for law, the legal committee. So we'll be looking at the law, and we have a structure.
You are very much aware of what EVD is. It's electronic voter identification device. It only succeeded, in your own words, 46%, which means that the voters who were identified electronically in this country were 46%. 54% you didn't identify electronically. Curricular report wanted us to avoid dead voters voting.
Sometimes I think you are taking the work we are doing here not to be serious.
Mr. Chairman,
honestly,
she's threatening not to answer the question.
Honestly, because when you start, you see, what you can do, in my view, and I'll be honest with you, if you feel you don't want to answer questions, you say, I'm not interested, and we let you go.
No,
it's a simple, because when you tell us, you are the one, and I've warned you from the beginning, that you have this habit of always digging holes for yourself. Even in the court, it was acknowledged that there was more than one register. It's a public knowledge. Then you go there and you start telling us, and you're saying, I'm declining. If you don't want to answer, please. I've been sitting here since 8:30 in the morning, and honestly, the last thing I want is for you now to start breaking my fuses over an issue that you have at liberty to say, I'm not interested in this process, and the door is there. No one will stop you from leaving.
We are also getting worked up because of the time factor. We wanted to do this thing in time, register people. We wanted to give them more time than 1 month in order to register, in order to compile the register and so on. There was a lot of frustration.
Let's now focus on that stalemate in the education sector. No work, no pay. That is the message from the Teachers Service Commission to striking teachers. TSC says it is in the process of preparing the September payroll, and teachers will only be paid for the days they have been at work. The Commission says it will close the payroll by the 18th of this month, and teachers who will not have reported back to work will be struck off the payroll. Rita Tinina is keeping tabs with the teachers' strike.
The teachers' strike entered the third week with continued grandstanding by players in the pay dispute, even after President Uhuru Kenyatta ruled out any pay increase for teachers last week. Teachers insist they will not go back to class unless the 50 to 60% pay rise awarded by the courts is implemented.
If you say you can't pay, won't pay, then teachers shall say we can't teach, we won't teach.
11 days ago, the Teachers Service Commission warned teachers to go back to class or face the sack. 5 days ago, TSC said it had written warning letters to 5,000 head teachers, deputy head teachers and other senior teachers over the strike. Teachers have remained unshaken, but now the TSC says it will not be business as usual with the teachers' payslips.
It will no longer be possible to pay teachers who miss work and are not going to earn a salary. No work, no pay.
The Commission says the September payroll is currently being processed.
Details of teachers who have been performing their teaching and administrative duties have been captured. These teachers will receive their pay in full.
The September payroll will be closed in 4 days. TSC says teachers can report back to work before then. Such teachers will miss out on pay for the days they were on strike, but will not be struck off the payroll.
Teachers who will not have hindered this call by 18th September 2015 will be removed from the payroll. Consequently, their salaries will be stopped and their names struck out of the TSC payroll.
The Commission says at least 22% of primary schools and 54% of secondary schools are operational. TSC is ruling out any pay rise for teachers, saying it was allocated 174 billion shillings in the 2015-2016 financial year for teachers' salaries.
There are no additional funds to implement the 50 to 60% award, which would require an extra Kenya shillings 99.8 billion Kenya shillings in the period between 1st July 2013 and 2017.
The Parliamentary Committee on Education says it has requested Majority Leader Aden Duale to write to the National Assembly Speaker asking him to reconvene the House over the teachers' pay dispute.
The National Assembly of the Republic of Kenya has the inescapable responsibility and duty to convene immediately and not address these matters in political rallies.
The Kenya National Association of Parents says the current strike has led to loss of valuable time for candidates who will not be adequately prepared for national exams.
We are appealing to the government to suspend or to defer the examination that is due to start in October until that time when we'll be sure that sanity and peace has prevailed within the education sector.
Teachers and their employer, the TSC, are due back in court on Tuesday when the court will give direction on whether or not the teachers' strike is protected. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Let's stay with that story. It forms the basis of a big question. Tonight we are asking you, should TSC make good their threat and sack striking workers? Should TSC make good their threat and sack striking workers? Let us know what you think. You can tweet us at KTN News. You can tweet me directly at Lindo Gutu. I'd love to sample some of your views. Remember, TSC has given the teachers up to the 18th of September to go back to class, or then they say if they don't make their way back to class by 18th, they will strike their names off the TSC payroll. We're waiting to see how this goes in the coming days, so it would be nice to know what you think about that. And in a quick rejoinder, NAT Chairman Mudonzili is daring the TSC to strike off the names of all the teachers from the payroll, terming the directive from TSC as a mere threat. Nzili says the country has enough money to effect the pay rise and urged teachers to ignore the TSC new order.
The threat by the Teachers Service Commission today is misplaced, to say the least. The Teachers Service Commission, which is already in contempt of court itself, and we are taking this matter seriously, that they cannot go round and round and round and round giving threats that they cannot implement. They should not bother themselves that there will be any teacher tomorrow or the day after tomorrow as a result of their intimidation. The teachers are simply saying, this constitution is supreme, and the supremacy of the constitution of Kenya is not negotiable. Our good government, we are reminding you where you are standing, on, where you are sitting on that table, there is a constitution that you must follow. Oh, we are reminding you, our good government, that court orders must be obeyed. You know, the problem with those people surrounding the president, they are not telling him the truth. They are cheating him. Some people are cheating him. They are not telling him the truth, that the Teacher Service Commission today has 9.3 billion and they are capable of paying these allowances, as these salaries, as the court progresses. So, for them to say there is no money is because somebody somewhere is failing in his duty or in her duty to advise that, oh, we have 9.4 billion here.
NAT Chairman there, Mudonzili, calling that ultimatum by TSC a bluff. Let's see how it goes. Remember, that is the basis of a big question. Tonight we're asking if you think TSC should make good their threat and sack striking teachers. The leaders allied to the Jubilee coalition today came out to strongly support the embattled Devolution Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru. Betty Kyalo with the details.
791 million shillings. Another enormous figure that is making headlines, this time round from the Devolution Ministry, a figure that has rattled the opposition and one that has seen renewed calls to have Waiguru led to the door. But even with the uproar over the lost millions, a section of leaders from Jubilee Coalition have come out to support her.
The allegations that Waiguru is being shielded are false and unfounded, because it is Waiguru herself who called for investigations towards the conspiracy to defraud the National Youth Service to be carried out. Waiguru should be left alone to continue with her good work, which is appreciated by many across the country. For the first time, there is serious focus on young people to empower them. And Raila himself did not really do much or do anything to change the face of Kibera, despite his long period as a member of parliament for the area and also as Prime Minister.
The opposition leader Raila Odinga came out saying that the government was shielding Waiguru, who, according to him, was deeply involved in the scam.
Kwa hivyo nimesema yeye ana Waiguru ni aongoze, akae kando na uchunguzi ifanywe. Kuna ushahidi ya kutosha ya kuthibitisha kwamba hiyo pesa ilikuliwa. Kwa hiyo kitu inaitwa ifmis.
Previously, Waiguru was unwavering that no money had been lost after she discovered irregularities in the ministry's financial system and subsequently launched investigations. However, last Friday, Waiguru indicated that 21 government officials would be prosecuted for the lost NYS millions.
The DCI confirms that there was a conspiracy to defraud NYS 695,400,000 in respect of committed disputed transactions.
Today, the list of individuals and companies accused of stealing the NYS millions was released by the DPP. This list includes Form Homes Builders, Reinforced Concrete Technologies, Roof and All Traders, Josephine Kabura Irungu, Peter Omari Otwoma, Ben Gedhi, Joel Kanyi Karenju, Francis Karaoke, Jennifer Manyara Mogore, Rhoda Kavu Macau, Aiden Harake, Samuel Wachenje, Hendrik Nyongesa Pilisi, Naftali Githenji, Ruth Njeri Hihu, Charles Onsanse Nyaachi, Mary Wangoi Mbuthia, Ezekiel Karanja Kamau, James Gitao Kanudhu, Samuel Kilonzi, Frederick Okello Nasiche, Regina Nyambura Mungai, Philip Joshua Otinga, Jen Wangeshi Gishuki, David Dix Alunga, Titus Libondo, Chemos Kororira Ndiema, and Regina Nyambura Mungai, who will be charged with fraudulent false accounting and forgery of the LPOs in question. Meanwhile, NYS employees took to the streets on Monday protesting over delayed payments by the Devolution Ministry. The irate men and women marched to Waiguru's office at Harambee House, carrying placards demanding that their pay be released.
Kutoka January mpaka saa hii tuko na contract 3 ni ya 3 na tutalipwa pesa, savings zetu zimekwama kutoka na hichi kila siku every siku anakata 141 yenye tuna saving. Hatujaiona, hatujaiweka kwa account. Sasa ni watu tumegoma, sasa kazi zimezama kingafla. We don't know where we are going next.
Kwa wiki unalipa 1648 ambapo hiyo ni pesa kidogo ukijumuisha kwa mwezi wewe silipa nyumba. Ukilipa siku 2 this week na next week ulipa siku 2 inakuwa ni sita hata kulipa nyumba.
The youth from Ukuru Kayaba also added that more than 2,000 of them had been sacked without warning. This comes after another demonstration in June when youth from Kibera and Mathare burnt down projects initiated by the NYS during a protest seeking increment in payment and an extension of the projects. Betty Kyalo, KTN News.
Let's now take you to our bread basket in Uasin Gishu, and reports indicate that more than 2 million bags of maize from Uganda have been imported into the country in the last few weeks. The influx has caused a glut in the area, forcing the price of the commodity to go down drastically. And as Masikandie now reports, farmers are a bitter lot after spending a lot before the harvest season.
It's the art of drying maize in an innovative way by using their feet. Then the maize seeds are turned in a way that the sun's heat dries all its sides. This is in Eldoret town. The harvested maize is mainly from Uganda as a result of the recently endorsed Free East Africa Market Protocol, one that has gotten farmers here in Wari. The prices are not friendly on their side before even they harvest their own maize from the farms.
Kama bei ikikatwa hatutafaulu kwa sababu gharama ya shamba ni juu, na hapo ndio wakulima wanategemea sana.
Sasa ukienda leto kwa Uganda tunanunua mahindi na shilingi 1,900. Sasa ukileta hapa na transport hakuna kitu utakuja pata.
The region will start harvesting next month all through to December. Farmers in the North Rift have expressed worry over finding a suitable market for their produce and want the government to announce the official maize price to save them from exploitation.
And we cannot keep on fighting free markets. It is the way to go in the world. What we're encouraging our farmers is to diversify as much as possible. If maize is not giving better returns because of competition, then we'll have to look at what really we need to do as a substitute.
Farmers say a bag of 90 kg from Uganda can be sold to middlemen for as low as 1,200 to 1,500. That same bag they would sell for 2,700. A difference, they say, that doesn't look too good considering the high cost of production.
The debate now should be taken a notch higher. What are we going to do as Kenyans or as a government to ensure that the cost of production comes down until we become also competitive in the region?
So we are trying to encourage farmers to harvest whatever is ready and ensure that post-harvest losses are reduced as much as possible.
The El Nino warning for the month of October, adding troubles to a region that has already its fair share of farming challenges, with one option of some of these challenges being crop diversification.
They put, say, sunflower, canola seed, other vegetables as well, so that at least we can utilize these particular rains.
Lakini tutapanda sunflower kwa shamba gani? Labda hii shamba ile tunaweza panda sunflower kwa ile mtu amefuna ngano. Lakini wakati hiyo mvua itakuta mahindi iko kwa shamba. Na shamba ni ile. Sasa nitabadilisha namna gani mahindi kupanda sunflower na mahindi iko ndani ya shamba.
Sasa unaona hapa kwetu ni mahindi tu na ngano ndio nafanya. Lakini hii ingine sunflower sidhani. Na hata hatujui soko ya sunflower iko wapi.
If we have to diversify, which areas can we exploit? Can you first of all establish the markets?
As the debate continues, the lorries trickle in from Uganda, the middlemen and the millers buy the maize. Farmers here hope that when they too harvest, that they will get value for their money.
Farming in this region has had its myriad of challenges, the constant challenge being the maize price fluctuation. For the farmers here, they say crop diversification that may be just one way out of this challenge is one way that may take some time to adopt. Masikandie, KTN News, Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County.
All right, you're watching KTN Prime, and we thank you for staying with us. In the interest of accuracy and clarity, allow me to correct something that you alluded to in our earlier story, that story on NYS. The Director of Public Prosecution, that is Keriako Tobiko, has not recommended the prosecution of suspects on the 791 million shillings that is in the NYS saga. Instead, the DPP has received the files from CID, and of course he will advise on the best appropriate route to take with that case. Once again, the Director of Prosecution, Keriako Tobiko, has not recommended the prosecution of suspects in that NYS saga, the loss of 791 million. Instead, he has received the file from the CID, and of course we'll advise. We're keeping an eye on that story for you, and we'll let you know of the developments therein. Before we take a short break, let's look at our big question tonight. We are asking, should the TSC make good their threat and sack striking workers, sack striking teachers? Remember, it has given teachers up to the 18th of September to go back to work, and they say anyone who will not have made their way back to work by 18th of September will be struck off the payroll, the TSC's payroll. Let's see if we can sample some of your views. Clinton Otieno says, I don't support because it's diminishing teachers' rights and it's unconstitutional. M_Pine says, no, TSC should instead obey court order and pay teachers. Joseph Ledama says, TSC is just making it worse. Let them obey court orders and pay. Dale Silvana says, pay teachers. They wouldn't have failed to go to class if government paid what the court had awarded. And finally, Tristan says, they can't sack them. Hiyo ni moto ya karatasi tu ndio warudi class. Just some of your opinions on our big question tonight, whether or not TSC should sack striking teachers. I'm keeping an eye on your SMSs as well, on your tweets. We'll keep sampling them during this bulletin. You're watching KTN Prime. Let's take a short break. I'll be back with more news. News and just ahead, why stakeholders are opposed to privatization of sugar mills. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. 3 bodies were this evening found in Nyeri in what is believed to be a case of murder. Police suspect the bodies were dumped there by unknown persons, and investigations are already underway.
Shock and grief written over their faces. Residents of Kafireine in Nyeri County stared in disbelief at the gruesome scene of 2 badly mutilated bodies dumped inside this thicket. A herdsboy who had come grazing here spotted the first 2 bodies. Both had noticeable injuries on their heads, an indication that they may have been hit with blunt objects to death.
Mimi nimeona magari, nilikuwa kwa gari nikitoka huku Moiga, nikaona magari mengi na mkusanyiko wa watu. Ndio nimefikiria hata mimi nikuja nione ni nini. Ndio nikapata hao jamaa wawili. And anyway, what do we say? It's like they've been dumped there. Yeah.
Ni kama hiyo mili ililetwa kama jana. Vile nimeona hiyo situation, vile mwili ilikuwa. Sio mili ati imekaa hapo. Usiku ni kama kuletwa usiku.
But even before their shock had died down, more saddening news reached residents here that a 3rd body had been spotted drowned in a nearby stream at Muringato area. The victim, a man suspected to be of Somali origin.
Tulisikia kuna mtu alikuwa na huko chini kwa mto. Sasa tukakaa tu, watu wakakuja tena, wa serikali wakaingia kutusaidia tujue ni nini kunaenda na mbele.
Hatuwezi kujua mpaka tuchunguzi endelee ilitokea upande gani na ni kwa nia gani. Watu wanaweza kuwa wanauawa sehemu zingine na wanakuja wanatupwa sehemu hii.
Of the 3 bodies, only one has been identified as that of a man from Murang'a County.
Wawili ilikuwa Kafiruini Forest, ambayo tulivisit scene tukapata kama wako na injuries kwa kichwa. The other one haikuwa na visible injuries, lakini ilikuwa ina float from Muringato area, Muringato River.
But even as most questions remain without answers, residents here claim that the 3 may have been killed elsewhere and dumped here, raising speculation as to whether these are ordinary murders or another of the recent cases of extrajudicial killings by the police. Murimi Mwangi, KTN News.
Stakeholders in the sugar industry are opposed to the ongoing privatization process of sugar mills. Speaking in Mombasa, they say government should suspend the exercise as they have not been fully consulted.
We must try and see how we can get our sugar sector out of the challenges we are in now. As it is, we leave the status quo where the government runs it, it is going to fail and is going to continue to fail miserably. That I think we are all agreed on. The process of getting it into the hands of a private player. Today, we are suffering from a situation where if we are not careful, there could be a concentration of power in few players, and many of our government-owned farms continue to die down. And so the sooner we inject certain amount of competition in this sector, the quicker we actually, because competition, I can tell you, will create the innovation.
Sugar factories are in the counties. If you want to privatize Chemelil and Muhoroni, the most logical and sensible thing is to hand over those factories to the county government of Kisumu.
The issue of the land that belongs to the community has to be sorted out. It is true we agree a strategic partner needs to come with some land, the land to be assured of the nucleus and the availability of the raw materials. But here we must see the level of compensation. Okay, this is where we are having issues.
Suspended Lands Cabinet Secretary Charity Ngilu has challenged Ukambani leaders to stop divisive politics and focus on ways of improving their living standards. Speaking in Kitui, Ngilu said she was confident that she would be vindicated as her track record speaks for itself. Ian Wafula reports.
Suspended Cabinet Secretary Charity Ngilu today toured the larger Kitui County, and it was upon her arrival at Kitui Town where she preached messages of peace. And in fact, she urged Kenyans to unite against the case faced that Deputy President William Ruto and radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang are facing at the International Criminal Court. She says that she believes widely that the two shall be vindicated. And it did not go without her mentioning about her case where she was suspended over corruption allegations at the Ministry of Lands. And here she was saying that she believes that she will be vindicated as well, and she also said that the Ministry of Lands has not lost any amount of money. Important to note is that the suspended Cabinet Secretary Charity Ngilu also said that she does not like the way corruption, the fight against corruption is being done selectively. Remember that we still have a number of Cabinet Secretaries within the government who are holding office, yet they have been accused of corruption scandals within their ministries.
I will not support selective way of dealing with the corruption in this country. If one is corrupt, one has got to be dealt with. From Charity Ngilu and all others.
The residents of Kitui had anticipated that during her visit to the county here that she would announce for her bid to vie for the 2017 governorship of Kitui County, but this did not happen. Charity Ngilu also condemned the recent incident where we witnessed in Makueni County supporters of Machakos Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua and those of former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka clashing. She said that the Kamba community should unite and focus on matters development to bring up their region so that they can be at the same levels of other regions.
Mwache tuwalete viongozi wote pamoja. Naona wale wanasema tunataka maendeleo, ni kweli, lakini maendeleo inatakikana maendeleo ambao iko structured.
In the meantime, Charity Ngilu is asking President Uhuru Kenyatta to return her back to office as she is yet to complete some of the goals she had set within the Ministry of Lands, including the distribution of the 3 million title deeds. Ian Wafula, KTN News, Kitui County.
Thank you for staying with us. We're taking a short break. Abby Agina is up next with the day's business news, and you need to watch that, especially if you're a motorist who's focusing on fuel prices.
Good evening and welcome to KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. It will be relief for motorists for the month of September as fuel prices for super remain unchanged in the latest price adjustments announced by the Energy Regulatory Commission. Petrol will continue to retail at 102 shillings and 65 cents per litre in Nairobi, and good news for low-income households as kerosene went down by 5 shillings and 43 cents to 52 shillings and 55 cents per litre, with diesel falling by 3 shillings and 36 cents in this month's review. Here's more on that story. In the latest price announcements for the month of September, it turned out to be a big relief for Kenyans after the Energy Regulatory Commission held the price of super petrol at 102 shillings and 65 cents amidst rife speculation that the prices would be going up. Motorists will now buy diesel at 79 shillings and 99 cents a litre, down from 83 shillings and 35 cents beginning midnight. The biggest winners following the price reviews were kerosene users. Kerosene, mostly used by low-income households for cooking and lighting, is down by 5 shillings and 43 cents to 52 shillings and 55 cents per litre. Fuel prices were projected to rise with the shilling having weakened against the dollar, with the current exchange rate standing at 105 shillings and 10 cents to the shilling. ERC attributes the price changes to a decrease in imported crude oil. The free on-board price of Murban crude oil lifted in August was posted at $48.85 per barrel, a decrease of 15.34% from $57.70 per barrel in July. The new revisions are set to impact positively on the cost of living for majority of Kenyans. Analysts reckon that transport costs and commodity prices could drop as well. It is not clear whether the price adjustments will hold, as Kenya is a net importer of petroleum products. The price adjustments by ERC are anchored on import duties charged on various petroleum products. The variation in fuel prices is mainly due to the different taxes, given that petrol has an excise duty of 19 shillings and 89 cents a litre, while the levy on diesel stands at 8 shillings and 24 cents. Diesel and petrol also attract a road levy charge of 12 shillings a litre that is not applied on kerosene. With inflation currently hovering at 5.8%, it is projected that prices will record marginal rises in the coming months. Abiagina, KTN Business. Indeed, some good news there for motorists as well as commuters, knowing that the fares won't be going up anytime soon. From fuel matters, let's take a look at tourism, where East Africa's tourism industry is registering significant gains as the number of tourists into the region continues to increase following the introduction of the single tourist visa. According to players in the region, the single tourist visa introduced last year has directly led to an upsurge in visitors to the East African region, and member countries are looking to scale up the collective marketing efforts. An estimated 4,000 single tourist visas have been issued since its launch in February 2014, representing a month-on-month improvement from an average of 156 visas sold in the 10 months to December last year to 305 this year. The single tourist visa introduced last year got a rocky start as some players stated concern that the attraction of individual member states would be lost in the collective marketing strategies. Burundi and Tanzania are yet to join the initiative, an indication from some players that the initiative is being undermined by the two nations. According to sector players, the collective marketing efforts are just part of a larger project to streamline hotel classification within East African region and harmonizing the region as one tourism product by 2016. As you know, every Monday we bring for you our next frontier, and over the last few years farmers have lost thousands of bags of grain due to post-harvest losses. This has mainly been through contamination by aflatoxin, a naturally occurring highly toxic residue linked to poor storage, but these losses can now be minimized with the introduction of a small portable grain drying machine that is locally made and also available. On this week's Next Frontier, Philip Keitani explains how this equipment works and what it means for farmers. Take a look.
Over the last few years, Kenya has lost both live and large amounts of harvested maize, groundnuts and other grains due to the deadly fungus known as aflatoxin. Poor handling, storage and general lack of awareness are some of the reasons linked to the lost harvest and diseases for those who consume such produce. The lack of proper drying and harvest has left many farmers put to store their grains with high moisture content, which provide good grounds for aflatoxin to thrive. According to the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Kenya loses an estimated 10.8 billion shillings annually due to poor post-harvest handling, adding that the figure is too big to be ignored in a country that grapples with food shortage. But that could soon change. Meet Sophie Walker, the brains behind new, portable and low-cost drying technology that could lead to massive changes in the grain storage.
And so we were looking at how do we provide that innovation, how do we look at something that will work in the field at the farmer level, that will bring their grain dry so that they can use hermetic storage, which prevents aflatoxin getting worse.
The dryer takes a maximum of half a ton of maize per session, and regardless of how high the moisture content is, the maize dryer will only take 4 hours to bring the moisture content to 13.5%, which is the required level for stored maize.
Drying is actually very technically complicated, I have since discovered. And so the air around us is full of relative humidity, water. And on a sunny day, that relative humidity drops, so it's easy to dry. But on a cloudy day or a day that's raining, of course the relative humidity is very high.
This new dryer will reduce the time in which grains is left exposed outside and minimize further losses.
One of the constraints of the dryer is that it only takes half a ton of maize per batch. And it takes, if your maize is 18% moisture, sort of quite wet, having been in the crib for a couple of, weeks, it still takes 4 hours to dry it from 18 to around about 13.5%.
The dryer is locally manufactured by Juakali artisans, and it will take 3 weeks if you order for one, and goes for 125,000 shillings.
The biggest challenge actually is awareness, because if people don't know there's a drying service, they don't ask people for a drying service, and therefore the shellers don't supply a drying service.
With the anticipated El Nino rains expected at the end of this month and last until December, the country's grain basket region, particularly in the Rift Valley and western Kenya, will be hard hit, and this could reduce October harvest by at least 30%, exposing farmers to huge losses and putting the country's food security situation in a precarious position. But according to Sophie, this mold dryer can help minimize or eliminate any potential losses that might come with the El Nino rains. Over the last few years, small-scale maize farmers have been losing a substantial amount of their maize harvest due to the effects of aflatoxin. But with this new, small, ingenious, portable drying solution, these farmers are now expected to smile all the way to the bank, as it will help them minimize their losses. Philip Keitani for the Next Frontier.
Many thanks there, Philip Keitani, always giving us a dose of freshness when it comes to agribusiness. Well, that's all the time we had for KTN Business for today. But before we leave you, we'll be giving you the trading in terms of how the stocks performed, how the shilling has been performing. Quite interestingly, today we saw quite a number of banks topping the charts, being among the biggest movers. My name is Abi Agina. Keep it KTN.
Let's look at sports now. A total of 94 delegates will take part in this year's Football Kenya Federation elections. FKF Chairman Sam Nyamweya has reiterated that the elections will be free and fair and that all structures are in place for level playing ground. Nick Mwendwa, who is vying for the top seat, admits that most of the issues his camp wanted addressed have been ironed out.
Candidates vying for the top seat in the forthcoming Football Kenya Federation elections seem to be reading from the same script. The number of delegates has been increased from 78 to 94, with each county now having a vote in the polls.
It's going to be free and fair, and we have done a lot of inroads, so you should be rest assured that things are moving on well.
We have gone through all the issues, and we have agreed most of them. What we have agreed as a committee is for them to be put together and shared with you in a formal way.
Kenyan Premier League will provide 16 votes, the FKF Premier League 8 votes, Division 1 8 votes, Super League 8, Women Premier League 2, Women Division 1 2, coaches, players and referees commission will each provide 1 vote. Nyamweya confirmed that elections will start with the sub-branches on October the 29th and then the counties on November the 5th. A committee that had been picked to harmonize a proposal of turning branches into counties has made some changes on the eligibility rules for those who are contesting.
Eligibility, the criteria thereof at the various levels of the candidacy. Then the question of the board itself, who are in the appeals board, who are in the elections board. We've sorted out the names, but we'll get more details later. And then finally, the issue of various structures of the federation, what sub-branches will be there and what branches will be there.
Car enthusiasts will this year be privileged to assess a locally built replica of an early 1930s Alfa Romeo 1750 sports racing car that is expected to be one of the most eye-catching of the 11 Alphas contesting the CBA Africa Concours d'Elegance on September 27th at the Nairobi Racecourse. Ms. Sylvia Kasene will be showing this unique car, which was built by her late grandfather, who was a leading coach builder and restorer of rare vintage cars. As a youngster in Italy, the late Vittorio was enthralled by the exploits of the Alfa Romeo 1750 sports cars in long-distance races. So what do you think? Should TSC make good its threat and sack striking teachers? Let's see. Ahmed Noor says we had shortage of teachers even before the strike. Who will replace that number if sacked? Joseph Moniki is asking the question that a lot of people have been asking as well. Did the court ruling include a strike? Remember, the strike is not protected. Finally, Anas Kinywa says we all know strikes end with a return to work formula, but those in TSC seem to think that workers are bulldozed. Just some of your opinion on our big question tonight, whether or not TSC should make good its threat and sack striking teachers. They've given them up to the 18th of September. Let's see how that plays out. And that is where we leave it on KTN Prime. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Linda. For good.